And speaking of elections, this month is the presidential elections in Ivory Coast, October 25th to be precise. And Mr. President is running again. That is Alassane Ouattara, who came in 4.5 years ago after the famous Laurent Gbagbo and his wife, popularly known as Iron Lady. I've been speaking with some friends in Ivory Coast and some of my Ivorian friends living here in the US. And so far, I've been hearing that Mr. President has done well by his people, considering the fact that Ivory Coast was in a civil war from 2002 to 2010, during which nothing was done to develop the country. I heard that in the last 4.5 years though, that Ouattara has built several roads and bridges, that he built a bridge in Abidjan. I heard that electricity is now stable in Ivory Coast and that foreign investors are now coming back to Ivory Coast. There's running water, infrastructure development, and he brought the headquarters of African Development Bank back to Abidjan. Education is now free from elementary to secondary school. Yeah, that's wonderful. One person told me that this president knows how to get money and how to use it for the country's development. I also heard that he's been giving loans to women regardless of whether they're educated or not, with no interest. I'm like, no interest? That got my attention. And now more women in the villages are partaking in cooperatives. So this year he also started awarding loans to young people that want to start their own businesses. I was like, wow, that's awesome. That's after they complete their studies. And this is because they don't have enough businesses due to the civil war. And then I heard that he also gave $200,000 each to other presidential candidates for them to campaign. Okay, what was that? What was that about? Like, I don't understand. Why would you give out money meant to develop the country for people to campaign? I mean, I don't understand. Of course, that was followed by mixed reactions by the people. There are speculations now that Mr. President will win this coming election, although people that are loyal to Gbagbo are now supporting the other candidate. Sure, you understand? So yes, Gbagbo still has a lot of supporters. You know that a lot of people believe that he won the last election. All I know is it's good to see a president doing something in the last 4.5 years, because by the time the former president Gbagbo left power, it was a mess. Gbagbo was in power for 10 years, yet he didn't want to leave. He postponed elections a number of times before they finally held the last election. And of course, he ran in the election. Some people said he won, others said it was Ouattara that won. International observers, ECOWAS, the UN, and all of them, they said Ouattara won the election, but Gbagbo refused to step down. He was mainly supported by the largely Christian South, while Ouattara was mostly supported by Muslims in the North. I remember that Gbagbo closed the borders at that time. Foreign news organizations were banned from broadcasting, even from within the country. He even launched ethnic attacks on Northerners living in Abidjan. Can you imagine that? And I heard that he used Liberian mercenaries as well. Of course, Ouattara's forces have also been accused of retaliating, so I'm not saying that Ouattara was a saint when this was going on. The other thing to note was the role of the former First Lady, Iron Lady herself. There was a time that people complained about women being raped, and she said that they deserved it. So you sort of know the kind of person that she is. Anyway, when the husband refused to step down, witnesses said that the First Lady herself was the one distributing arms to thugs, and she personally directed the death squad. And then, as you guys know, more than 3,000 people were killed because of that violence. And she's been sentenced to 20 years in prison while the husband awaits trial at the ICC, International Criminal Court. You guys remember that time, because when the news of her sentence came out at that time, that was when Nigerian First Lady drank her Kool-Aid. I don't know if you remember. Patience Jonathan became more gentle when the news of this was. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that, you know. All I know is whoever wins this election in Ivory Coast needs to work on bringing people together. There is still a lot of tension in Ivory Coast, and though the civil war is over, the tension needs to be addressed. People have to learn to live in peace. The other thing is unemployment must be addressed. It's still a major issue. It's gotten better, but it needs to be addressed. In any case though, I'll keep you guys updated on the coming election in Ivory Coast. You guys now don't know much. Guess what? I'm just keeping it real.